Crowds of aviation trade professionals, the launch of a new model of the Airbus A330, press conferences and aircraft order announcemements, an unbeatable flying display. It must be the 2014 Farnborough International Air Show. Thursday is underway at the show, the last before Farnborough opens up to the public visitors on Friday. And day 4 has started with news of yet more orders for A330neo and A320neo aircraft. Airbus executives met with the Aviation Press Corps for one final time during the 2014 show, answering questions and reflecting on perhaps the most successful Farnborough ever for Airbus. Aviation fans who are not able to attend Farnborough in person this year can experience the Airbus Group Pavilion exhibition online at airbus.com with a self-guided tour of all the displays. But before taking a virtual stroll around the world of Airbus, we've got some flying to do. Airbus Direct's coverage of Day 4 at the Farnborough International Air Show starts right now. Sunny day in Hampshire. On behalf of all of my Airbus colleagues around the world, I'm Clay McConnell, joined by my colleague Harry Nelson. We'd like to welcome you to the 2014 Farnborough International Air Show. It's a beautiful day to fly. We're looking forward to a good flying display once again from our Airbus A380, Airbus A350 XWB, and A400M aircraft. And Harry, looks like a really beautiful day to fly. Tell us about the conditions.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to join you again. Thank you for that. Yeah, the conditions are perfect for the air show. We've got an off-crowd wind, which is exactly what the pilots will like. Everything is set for a great show.
Terrific. Let's go to the flying display. Next up in the order of flight is, of course, the Airbus A380. The world's largest and most efficient passenger aircraft. Harry, what can we expect to see from the A380's flying display today?
I think particularly notice the small area in which it maneuvers. It's for such a large aeroplane to maneuver within such a tight box, as we call it when we're displaying, it's quite remarkable. So we've got a great crew on board. Let's see what the guys can do. They're just about to launch.
This A380 participating in today's flight displays is Airbus's manufacturer serial number 1, one of 2 Airbus dedicated flight test A380s.
Okay, just what's going through the pilots' minds right now is they've obviously pre-planned and briefed very carefully on the routine they're going to do. Everybody in the crew knows that. It's now just a case of waiting for final clearance from air traffic control and then launching into the display. And what we're going to see is a demonstration which shows off the maneuvering capabilities of the aeroplane. Bearing in mind, it is an airliner. It's not a fighter jet. It's an airliner, so that's what we're going to see. The most maneuverable, very large aeroplane, I think, in existence.
The aircraft is powered by 4 Rolls-Royce Trent 900 engines, each delivering 70,000 pounds of thrust on takeoff. The A380 also can be powered by the Engine Alliance GP7000 engine. As we get our first look at the beautiful wings of the A380, Harry, I know the 2 gentlemen at the controls are colleagues and friends of yours. What can you tell us about them?
Yeah, we have a French crew today flying the 380. We have Hugues van der Stichel and Christophe Caille, and let's not forget the engineer who is Gerard Dubois, who was also present on the very first flight of this aeroplane. And so this team is working together. As I think the theme of what I'm going to be talking about will be coordination, and this team works in a very coordinated way. And you can see through the first turn, he now comes back and shows the bottom of the aeroplane to the crowd.
The Airbus A380 has a range of up to 8,500 nautical miles with a full load of passenger and cargo. It's in its 7th year of commercial service. More than 135 A380s have been delivered to airlines around the world, and the A380 program has won 324 orders from 20 customers. Harry, you're no stranger to this aircraft and to flying displays. Have you flown the A380 here at Farnborough before?
Yes, I was privileged to fly with Claude Lelay while he was doing his show, and a very similar display to today. He's turning right now to stay just outside the crowd line, which is defined by the orange little pyramids on the far side of the runway. This aeroplane today is at about 325 tons. The range that you just described, Clay, was typical of an all-up weight of about 560 tons, which is the maximum weight for this aeroplane.
The crowd present here today at Farnborough can certainly hear, or not hear as the case may be, the remarkably quiet display of the A380, which delivers on reduced noise despite its power and size. In fact, it's actually the quietest very large aircraft for the foreseeable future, generating only half of the noise on departure of the 747-400, for example. Harry, what are we seeing from the aircraft now?
Okay, what he's done just in that turn is he's slowed the aircraft down, and he's now gradually reducing speed to come past the crowd at alpha max, which means he's got the stick fully back, and he's relying on the alpha protection of the envelope protection we have, just nudging the power a little bit to make sure he maintains heightened speed. And at the end of this, you'll see him go to full power, and he maintains the full back stick position.
The aircraft appears almost to hang in midair. So you mentioned coordination between the crew. Is the pilot in the left-hand seat the pilot in command all the time during a flying display?
Yeah, we've got a crew of 4 flying today. You've got a flight test engineer in the back who's watching the systems. You've got an engineer in the front with the 2 pilots who is monitoring particularly the engines, but also the general way in which the display is progressing. And the 2 pilots work completely as a team. We'll see a pitch down maneuver in a second, with the landing gear going down and the flaps moving from flaps 2 down to flaps 4 for full for the approach and landing. And during that turn, they're coordinating, the right-hand seat pilot calling the turn, increase bank, decrease bank, or whatever. And very much a team effort.
The 350 is in position for takeoff as the A380 makes its approach. This handoff between the aircraft types is a bit of a ballet.
Yeah, absolutely. The takeoff, the power up and start of the roll for the 350 is controlled by the 380. The 380 guys will give a 10-second warning, and then as they come through about 500 feet, they will say go. And at that point, the 350 go. They've already pre-briefed if anything goes wrong, and here goes the 350 as we speak.
The A350 we see here is Airbus's manufacturer serial number 4, one of the 5 A350 development flight test aircraft. Exceptionally quiet. The aircraft is already gaining a reputation as the hush liner thanks to the specially developed Rolls-Royce Trent XWB turbofans. The A380 comes in for a landing. A nice handoff not only between the two aircraft, but that particular 380 was also the flying test bed for the Rolls-Royce Trent engine that's now powering the 350. So Harry, we've been talking all week here on Airbus Direct about the flight test program that the A350 is undergoing. From a flight test pilot's perspective, what does the flight test program entail?
Initially, you go through a phase of development where you test the aeroplane against the model you expect, and obviously in any development program you get 1 or 2 surprises. In fact, on the 350 program, it's been a really, from what I hear from the guys, a delight in terms of the lack of surprises, if you like. And then the phase they're in now is very much about certification. It's about ticking off those important boxes that you've got to tick to certify the type, and that's the heavy phase they're in right now.
In fact, this will be the last appearance of the A350 XWB at the Farnborough Air Show this year because of the rigors of that certification program. This aircraft will leave today and head somewhere special.
Yeah, it's going up to Derby to show itself off to the Rolls-Royce team who have developed the engines, of course. It's important to remember that this whole aeroplane is a massive team effort with all the suppliers, and Rolls, of course, are very significant amongst that. And so it's going up there to show them. So in today's display, uniquely, will not involve them landing just in front of the 400M takeoff.
Harry, I imagine a lot of folks tuning in to Airbus Direct today are wondering how one becomes a flight test pilot.
I think it's a long story, probably longer than we've got, but my journey started at the age of 11, and along the way you've got to have a bit of luck. You've obviously got to have a reasonable amount of ability, I guess, and I was lucky in that regard. It's something you can choose. And I had some great teachers and great instructors who helped me get there. But I think you've got to want it more than anything else. You've got to want to become a test pilot. You've got to be inquisitive. You've got to be interested in aeroplanes, what makes them tick, and so on. So for each of us, I guess, has a different story, but it's quite a small family altogether. Most of us either know each other or know of each other at least. And in that regard, we share safety stuff between us. While we're talking about careers, Clay, I understand there's an opera singer somewhere in you, is that right?
Not currently. But the A350 making its low pass is singing a bit for the crowd assembled here at Farnborough. It's a very quiet song. So that low pass, that slow pass, how is that like what was done in the A380? Is it a significantly different maneuver and a different exercise for the pilots?
No, it's very similar. Of course, you've got 2 engines as opposed to 4. So in the event of an engine failure, the pilots will have to react fairly quickly because they're going to lose half their power. But other than that, it's flown on the alpha protection in exactly the same way. We try and keep that part of it standard. The tuning of those control laws is quite a skillful process and requires a lot of work by the test pilots to get those protections absolutely right.
The A350 has been one of Airbus's most popular aircraft types in recent years in terms of orders from airlines. Even before the Farnborough Air Show started, 742 orders had been placed from 38 customers worldwide. The A350 brings a step change in efficiency compared with an existing aircraft in its size category. 25% less fuel and an equivalent reduction in carbon dioxide emissions. So while most people's eyes are trained on the A350 and its flying display, what's happening here on the ground?
Well, I mentioned coordination was important here. We've got the coordination of the crew, we've got the coordination between the various aeroplanes, we've also got coordination on the ground here. The ground crew have just worked very fast indeed to hook up the 380 and get it off the runway, ready for the 400M display. Meanwhile, we've got the A350 turning finals, and I guess the guys have got a flight plan already prepared because they're going to leave this circuit and head into the airways structure in the UK.
The landing gears back up. And a wave goodbye to the 2014 Farnborough International Air Show. That's a fun maneuver. Harry, have you performed one of those before?
Oh yeah, I think we've all done one or two of those in our time. But it's getting the rate of roll right to make it look good over the crowd line, over the length of the crowd line, and that looked perfect. And as the guys will be getting a traffic clearance now as they head out of the circuit. Meanwhile, the 400M just waiting for the 380 to clear completely, and then it'll be into its display.
As we say goodbye to the A350 XWB, we say hello to the Airbus A400M from Airbus Defence and Space. While 2014 was the first appearance for the A350 XWB at Farnborough, the A400M is making its third public display. Harry, tell us what you see here.
Okay, well, the 400M following a similar approach, but if you notice straight away he's into a much higher angle of a bank. He has a military aircraft with more maneuverability than the civil aeroplane. The envelope protection will limit him less, and we're going to see him use a lot of that bank, particularly later on when he does a high-speed pass. But he'll turn back to the crowd now, and let's have a good look at the aeroplane. Let the crowd see the aeroplane.
The A400M entered service with the French Air Force last September, and the first of 10 aircraft for the Turkish Air Force also has been delivered. It's going to be a busy year for the A400M team, as deliveries also will take place to the UK's Royal Air Force and the German Air Force in the second half of 2014. Harry, you've flown the A400M too. How is flying a large turboprop like this different or similar to flying some of the commercial jets?
Well, as I've indicated already, it's a very maneuverable airplane, but it's also a very capable airplane in terms of its instrumentation, the interface with the pilot. You fly this airplane primarily through the head-up display. You have a choice on the civil types, but this one's flown through the head-up display, and you have two navigation displays down below you on the main instrument panel, a moving map and a normal nav display. So it's a little bit different. You also fly a flight velocity vector as opposed to the pitch pointer, which in itself takes a short transitioning to, but becomes very easy after a few minutes.
This aircraft today is being flown by German experimental test pilot Karl-Heinz May, assisted by Airbus Chief Military Test Pilot Ed Strongman. With its 37-ton maximum payload on board, the A400M can fly nonstop for over 1,780 nautical miles, and with a 20-ton payload, can fly nonstop as far as 3,450 nautical miles. Tell us what you're seeing in this flight display.
Okay, just before I do, I realize we haven't mentioned the names of the pilots who are flying the 350. We really should. Peter Chandler, the chief test pilot, was in one seat, and Frank Chapman was in the other. So let's pay due reverence to those guys. We're about to see an unusual maneuver. This is only done on the 400M, and it'll involve quite a steep pitch down. I think about 15 or 20 degrees nose down very soon, and it's something that you wouldn't do in the civil types, but it's about to happen. So this is worth watching.
So why is a maneuver like that important for a military aircraft type in an air show like this?
First of all, defensively, if he has to maneuver the aeroplane defensively, it shows it has a lot of maneuver capability. But also, with this class of aeroplane, it's important to get down through the small arms fire very fast and put the aircraft on the ground, which is much safer than coming through the gunshots and so on. So, ability to descend is very important in this class of aeroplane.
If I'm not mistaken, this is one of your favorite maneuvers here. Tell us what we're about to see.
You know, he's accelerating hard now, coming along the crowd line, accelerating. Then he'll pull up into a bank to the right. It'll be interesting to see what bank he gets up to, but we've been seeing about 110 degrees this week. Let's have a look. Very steep climb out, and here goes the bank. Well, there's 90. Yeah, he's gone over the 90. That's about 100, 110, something like that. Very nice maneuver.
This particular aircraft has completed over 1,400 hours of flight test and more than 500 flights. Overall, the A400M development fleet has flown more than 6,200 flight hours, more than 2,200 test flights.
Okay, I think just to mention this last part of the display, Carl will be doing a short landing, I'm sure. And we must remember, with this class of aeroplane, again, the maneuvering on the ground, entrance into short fields, dirt strips and so on, and the ability to offload things quickly and then back up into a position to take off again is important. All of that we're going to see if they follow the same program that they did on Tuesday. Okay, on the ground, now braking hard, and then hopefully we'll see the aeroplane after it's stopped. We'll back up steadily down the runway. Let's just wait for that. It'll take a little minute. In fact, this landing's a little bit longer than the previous ones. I'm guessing they're at a heavier weight, preparing for displays for the next couple of days. Sometimes they up the weight and the weight changes. In fact, he's running to the end. This is clearly a planned maneuver. They're going to the end.
An exceptional flying display by 3 exceptional aircraft. Harry Nelson, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure once again partnering with you, and we look forward to welcoming you back sometime again on Airbus Direct. And speaking of back on Airbus Direct, be sure to join us again tomorrow, Friday, for Day 5, the first public day at the Farnborough Air Show. Meanwhile, I'd like for you to stick around because we have a chat with Airbus President and CEO Fabrice Bregier, who will have some reflections on the 2014 Farnborough International Air Show and look back at all of the accomplishments and what's taken place. A lot has gone on in the past 4 days. In addition, later today you may want to check Google Play or your smartphone's app store, because Airbus's 6th app magazine will be published, focused mostly on the A350 and the flight test program, the test campaign, the certification efforts. So with that, I'll introduce our President and CEO Fabrice Bregier, and I will wish you goodbye from the 2014 Farnborough International Air Show.
This Farnborough Air Show was a great air show. Actually, it was the best Farnborough Air Show in Airbus history. And I see at least 2 reasons. The first one is that we got nearly 500 orders and commitments, which is huge, with a catalog value of $75 billion. And the second one is that on the first day, we launched a big evolution of the 330, the 330neo. And with this new version, bringing a 14% fuel burn reduction, we got already 6 customers on board. ALC, Steve Azzi's company, was the launch customer with 25 aircraft. We got AirAsiaX with Tony Fernandez with 50 aircraft. He was very vocal some months ago that we should launch this version. And we got 3 leasing companies and 3 airlines. So it's a very good start with more than 120 commitments so far. The customers, you know, are looking for short-term solutions. And this is why our incremental innovation strategy, bringing both the maturity of aircraft like 320, 330, but at the same time innovations, is very appropriate and is supported by our customers. And when you come up with 15% fuel burn reduction on the 320neo or 14% on the 330neo, you have a lot of customers queuing up. And so our challenge will be to meet the entry into service by the end of 2017 and ramp up as fast as possible. The 320neo confirms its success. We have now passed the 3,000 net orders 3.5 years after its launch. We got a big order from the Japanese leasing company, Sumitomo Mitsui. We got additional orders from ALC as an example, and we will continue to be successful because this is a fantastic aircraft, and we believe that we will continue to lead this segment. So what remains to be done now? First flight. The aircraft is ready. We are expecting some final results from the engine of Pratt & Whitney, and then we will fly in September and ramp up as fast as possible. We have a huge potential, and we are in the leading position because we have started this innovation 1 year before our competitor. Regarding the orders, I think when we add the commitments during this show and the 290 net orders we got so far, we are above already our initial forecast, which was a book-to-bill above 1. So the focus for me is more on how we take decisions faster. We bring more agility, more innovation within Airbus. And believe me, if we launch the 330neo, it's because we were able not only to come up with a very good technical solution, but also to deliver the performance in 36 months, meaning 20% less than what we are doing on the 320neo. So this one matters. It's how we, as Airbus, become a very agile company. For me, the star of the show was the A350. We demonstrated it in flight. It's a marvelous aircraft to look at. And on top of that, we are making good progress. We are about to complete the flight tests for the certification. Out of 2,500 flight hours, we have completed 2,200. So we are now engaged in the last round, which is the route proving with the last aircraft and also preparation for certification. So I expect that we will be on track for both the certification and the delivery of the first aircraft to Qatar Airways, our launch customer.